Yo, what's good guys? Hope that you're all doing well. Welcome back to a new video. Today's video is going to be a more personal video again. I asked people on my Instagram story just a few days ago to send in some questions, more personal questions, psychology type of questions, and just things about my journey that you guys want to know basically. And you guys can actually learn from someone that is a profitable trader, the journey that I have been through, the things that I had to conquer, etc, etc. So the first question here from Enrique was, what was the breaking point in which you became a profitable trader? So I would say the thing that really separated me from a non-profitable trader from turning actually into a profitable trader is understanding market narrative, right? It's one thing knowing an entry model and knowing loads of concepts, but if you don't actually know when and why to apply those, then it's just going to be useless, you know? So understanding that market narrative, and also a big game changer for me was incorporating the time element within my trading. Because if you go back into your charts, you'll find out that during a certain time of day, certain day of the week, certain time of the month, certain things will happen. For example, I trade 9 to 10:30 a.m. and pretty much within that time window, there's almost at least one setup every single day within that window. So that already separates my trading window from, you know, just a random window within Asia session, for example. There's not always going to be a setup every single day. So finding that specific time window that works best for you, and also just incorporating time in general. So time-based liquidity, time-based SMTs, and then applying that with actual market narrative and a good understanding of the bias and the draws on liquidity. So the next question here from Shankar was, what were you learning before QT, which is quarterly theory? What's your view on QT and how QT changed your trading? So the first one, what was I learning before QT? I was basically just learning basic ICT concepts, essentially. First of all, I started with TJR's bootcamp. I'm sure that a lot of you guys know who TJR is. Pretty big name inside of the trading industry. And I think it's how a lot of people started that sort of came into trading in like the past 3 years or so. So another thing about me is I've only been trading for around 2.5 years yet. So still definitely a solid amount of experience, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to the upcoming few years and really how much I can grow in that space as well. So yeah, TGR's bootcamp, I watched all of that. That way I got a basic understanding of liquidity, order blocks, fair value gaps, etc. And then from there, I went to the ICT 2022 mentorship. I learned, you know, I watched that whole entire mentorship, took notes, etc. Just basically learning more in depth of what I already knew, just expanding on top of that. And then that's when a friend of mine told me about Trade a Day. I watched his, you know, YouTube video, the quarterly theory one, understood about the time windows, you know, AMDX, etc. And then that's when I saw he released his mentorship. So I signed up and thought that I'd just give it a try because I'd never tried anything new. I just watched a few YouTube videos, wasn't really getting anywhere with it. And then what's my view on QT, which again is quarterly theory for anyone that doesn't know. That is the strategy that I do trade. My view on QT is, I mean, I've got nothing bad to say about it, right? It's what transformed my trading from becoming unprofitable to a profitable trader. Again, like I said, incorporating that time element within my trading. Yeah, I mean, I don't use all of the concepts from quarterly theory. The main one that I do use is sequential SMT though, which as you guys know is a part of my 90-minute TCISD model. I require one sequential SMT followed by my TCISD concept, and then I take a trade essentially. So I learned everything that there is to know about QT, but then understanding that you really just need to simplify your trading is one of the main things, right? Like you can know thousands, well not thousands, but you know 10, 20 concepts, but realistically, if you're going to try and apply them into every single trade that you take, the trades that you're going to get are going to be very limited, and you're going to be waiting a very, very long time. But I do like to use PSPs and SMT fills for more or less my higher time frame bias and understanding the narrative and whatnot. You know, if we get like a daily or a weekly SMT fill or a daily PSP, I know what the third day is going to do from that, but I don't specifically enter off the PSP itself, you know. So yeah, QT, amazing. I obviously would recommend it to anyone. You know, if one of my friends came up to me, I would tell them to watch ICT concepts and whatnot, and then go straight to quarterly theory from there. And then finally, the third one that you asked was how QT changed your trading. Again, kind of mentioned that within the first question that we did have, just really incorporating that time element. And the main, you know, the game changer for me from what I learned from quarterly theory was sequential SMT. So yeah, I mean, we all know, well, if you don't know, like go back in charts, it's always going to be an SMT there before pretty much every single price movement. So if you incorporate that time element with that SMT, which is the sequential SMT, it's just going to be so much higher probability. So yeah, that's the questions answered from Shankar. Now let's jump into the next question from 4D3DER. Probably said that wrong, but yeah. So he said, how long did it take you to become profitable? So like I mentioned at the start of the video, I have only been trading for around about 2.5 years now. And I joined Dave's mentorship. It was the start of 2024, like January, February time. And it wasn't until around about 6 or 7 months into that mentorship when I really started to see consistency. So, I mean, what's that? Let's say I joined in February. I had 6 months on top of that: March, April, May, June, July, August. So around August 2024. So it's coming up in around about a year now. But obviously, August 2024, I wasn't like this insanely hugely profitable trader. But by that time, I was, consistently passing accounts and getting the more smaller payouts. And then from there, it's just basically been scaling up and up and up. And then, yeah, I'm really looking forward to next year, to be honest. I'm going to really, that's my main focus now within trading. It's just scaling, basically, getting more capital and whatnot. So yeah, that is that question answered. Another one from the same guy, 4D3DER. He said, what's your winning rate? My win rate is not really like static because my model is more discretionary in terms of like, it's not mechanical to the point where I can backtest and see, okay, 90-minute sequential SMT, 5-minute TCIC, I enter, because it's not always going to be a 90-minute sequential SMT. It's going to be any sequential SMT, right? So it can be a micro, a 90, or a daily. As you guys know, if you watched my TCIC model video, that is my own personal trading model. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that I lose very often, to be honest. Inside of my Discord where I'm trading live every single day, everyone in there knows that I don't particularly go on losing streak necessarily. Maybe I'll take 1 or 2 losses per week, but it's very rare that I close out the week red, to be honest. Obviously it's not always hugely green, but for the most part it's at least break even on the week, or a little bit green, or big green basically, or just like a small loss whenever I do take a losing week. But yeah, to answer the question, around about like 60-70% ish is what I would say for sure. We've got another question here from David Robin, basically just asking about the win rate of my TCIST model, the one that I trade. Again, like I said, it's not purely mechanical to the point where everyone's going to have the same entries every single day and the same win rate. It's more based upon the trader, how they can handle themselves after taking losses, how many trades are actually going to take within inside of the window. I just take one singular trade between 9 to 10:30 window. So yeah, the win rate is going to vary for everyone. But I could say I personally target 1 to 3 RR most of the time. And like I said, with that 60-70% win rate. So I'd say if you're starting out with it, go for like a 1 to 2 RR. And I reckon you can easily achieve like the 60-70% win rate that I get as well, but just slightly lower RR. But once you get more comfortable with it and you backtest it more and you get better at reading price action and whatnot, then you can hold the trades for as long as you want, But I'd say 60-70% is definitely very, very achievable with the model. And then again, another question from Robin. The first part that he asked was how QT has changed your trading journey, which I kind of already answered earlier on. But then he said, before that, have you tried any other model? So I'll answer that one specifically, which I did kind of touch on earlier as well. But yeah, I was basically just trading like simple ICT concepts, mainly just a 2022 model. So it'd be like a liquidity sweep, a breaker structure, and then just like a regular fair value up entry from there. But yeah, that was essentially just the model that I was using, incorporating inverse fair value ups and whatnot as well. But yeah, wasn't anything complicated then, and my model isn't complicated now. So if you take anything away from this video, then that it should be that the model that you train should be very, very simple, right? Definitely don't want to make it confusing. Need it to be simple, easy, and repeatable. So we got a different question here from Pano.c1. He said, can you talk about what props you use/recommend and how to make money in the business? So this is a more unique question. I like this one a lot. So the prop firms that I use and recommend, will always recommend to everyone, and I still do recommend to everyone inside of my Discord and whatnot, is always going to be Top Step. Top Step to me has never really failed me, never denied any payouts, never any issues with them guys at all. And also they've been in the game for one of the longest in terms of futures trading, right? So realistically, if anything bad happens to those guys, the whole futures industry is just going to go down with them as well, So I feel like they're a solid one that you can trust. And I really actually like the Top Step X feature that they have, which is the platform in which you can select when you check out. Because what I do is I copy trade on there as well. So for example, you can buy 350k accounts all on the Top Step X platform, and then you can connect them very simply on their dashboard. And then whenever you take a trade on one account, it will copy it on all 3 accounts basically, which is essentially what I'm doing at the moment. But I did touch earlier that I do want to focus on scaling myself as well. So I'm going to be branching out and maybe trying other prop firms as well. I have tried others. My Fund and Futures is also a pretty good recommendation from me as well. I haven't actually used Apex. I know that Apex is obviously killer for people that are really looking to scale. For me, I've just seen people using it and a few complaints, and the rules to me just, I don't know. I don't like the rules personally, like the intraday trailing drawdown. Although it probably wouldn't be a problem for me because I'm usually in and out of trades very quickly, and I also take like 1 trade a day anyway. But yeah, I just don't really like the sound of it, but something that I could maybe experiment with in the future. And then in terms of forex as well, I am with Alpha Capital Group at the moment as well. Requested a few payouts on that account that I've got with those guys as well. So I would recommend Alpha Capital as well. Obviously, FTMO is going to be one of the main ones for forex as well. And then how to actually make money using prop firms. Pretty simple. You want to, if you can afford to, just buy as many challenges as possible and aim to try and get them passed as fast as possible as well. You don't want to be wasting time on the evaluation phases. And then once you've actually got those accounts passed, remember, you don't need to go for home runs on those accounts. Large payouts, just very, very small. Accumulate the accounts, $500 win, $500 win, $500 win. And then before you know it, you'll hit your trading days and you'll have, 2-3K balance in the account. And if you've got one account, let's say you request $1,000, right? $1,000, sure, it might last you a couple of weeks or something like that, but you're not going to be able to actually live on it. And the question here is actually how to make actual money in this business, right? So the goal should be to get as many accounts as possible, copy trading, and then the payouts that you get, you can still go for small base hits, but it's going to add up a lot more, right? So $1,000 payout on one account can potentially equate to a $10,000 account if you've got 10 accounts, right? So that's why it's so important to actually focus on getting more capital within this game instead of just trying to get insanely high payouts just on small size accounts, right? So yeah, the ultimate answer would be try to get the evaluations passed as fast as possible, then pull back on the risk when you're actually funded, and just focus on stacking up those funded accounts as well. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. And then we've got another question here from wa_.iria, if that's correct. I do apologize if it's not. He said, what are the habits both personally and market-wise did you change or would change for consistency? So I'll get into some of my personal habits. Before, when I was starting out trading, I didn't really do too much outside of the charts. I was basically just like locked inside my room, just study, which I do think that everyone needs to go through that phase when they're actually first starting out. But once you've got past that point, you've got all the data you need, you're confident in your model and whatnot, then I do think that you need to focus on your personal life a lot more as well. So, building those healthy habits outside of the charts. So I'd recommend, getting into a sport, make sure you go into the gym, make sure you're walking, using your actual body how it's supposed to be used, being active and whatnot. Another good one as well is sleep. Like the sleep quality and the amount of sleep that you get is very, very important. You don't want to be coming to the markets feeling groggy every single day. But yeah, in terms of anything else, like, you might hear that you need to like meditate and get cold showers, ice baths every single day and whatnot. I mean, I've done it before, but did it turn me into a profitable trader? No, not really. What actually turned me into it is just sort of thinking like one, right? You need to put yourself in the shoes of a profitable trader. And when you come onto the charts, you just need to make sure you're just really locked in and focused, right? Which obviously the things outside that you do in your personal life will equate to how locked in you are actually on the charts as well. So yeah, those are like the personal habits that I did outside of the markets. And then the ones that I did actually on the markets was, I mean, like I said, I only take 1 trade per day, unless there are certain times when I'll take a trade with half my usual risk, which is right before 9:30 open and also on Mondays and Fridays. So if I go into a trade with half risk and I get stopped out, but my idea is still valid, I can then go back in with the remaining half risk to take up the full risk for the day. That will be the only time when I ever take more than 1 trade per day, and that'll be 2. But most of the time, on average, it's just 1 trade per day. So that's one of the habits that I create for myself. Also having a specific trading window. For me, that 90-minute window, 9 to 10:30 a.m. The less time that you're on the charts, the less time you have to actually make mistakes and slip up and whatnot. And then of course as well, make sure you have that model that you can rely on, the one that you trust and have full confidence within. And then from there, that is essentially all the framework that you need. Obviously, be good at reading price action as well. Pair that with a solid entry model. You don't need to top tick and bottom tick every single move. As long as you can capture a piece of the move, once you've got that bias, that is all that matters. And then one trade per day within that specific 90-minute trading window. And then the same guy as well, Warrior, actually asked, which books have you read or would you recommend? I actually haven't read particularly a complete trading book. I do have Trade in the Zone and another one, I believe, the one that's similar to that one, but I didn't actually end up getting through it all. But I've read some of it, like 20-30% of the book. But again, yeah, it can maybe change your perspective on things. I mean, I personally don't know because I haven't really spent much time reading trading books and whatnot. So they could be a help to you, but for me personally, it doesn't really change much. Like, I already know what I need to be doing. So potentially reading the books could push you over the edge and get you in that mindset as well. But for me personally, you know, like I said, I don't really read any books and haven't really read any books at all, to be honest. But yeah, I think Trading in the Zone is definitely a solid one for most traders. I know that's what most traders do recommend as well. And then again, we got another question from Warrior, and this is going to be the final question of the video as well. Don't want it to be too long, but if you guys did enjoy this video, then I will definitely do a part 2, so do let me know in the comments down below. But yeah, he said, did you go to college or university, and if so, how did you manage trading? So this is also another great question as well. So for me, I did go to college. It's a little bit different in the UK, England, which is where I'm from, if you guys couldn't tell by the accent. I went to college, but while I was in college, you actually finish when you turn 18, or like 18-ish, I believe. So I wasn't even trading in college, actually. It was a little bit after college when I actually started. So I started when I was around 18. I'm like 21 now. So yeah, so I didn't actually have to deal with trading inside of college, and I didn't go to university either, which is the thing that you go to if you want extra education for an extra 3 years after college. For me, I just got a part-time job. So I guess you could tie this into the question. Didn't specifically go to college, but I was working a part-time job while trying to juggle trading at the same time as well. But for me, it was fine. I actually had very, very early shifts, started at 3 o'clock in the morning. So that actually aligned perfectly with me trading the AM session, that 9 to 10:30 window. Because I'd hop on the charts, it'd be 2 p.m., 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time is when I start trading. So 2 p.m. for me in UK time. And I'd finish work around 10:30 in the morning. And then from there, I'd go straight to the gym, come home, make my food. And then by the time I'd done all that, it was sort of around that 2 p.m. mark anyway. So it all kind of aligned perfect for me. So not really any complaints there. But I mean, I guess having that job kind of motivated me to just go even harder with trading, basically, because I knew that that's not what I wanted to do for the rest of my life at all. And that wasn't the goal anyway. Like, I only got that job to build up the initial capital. I worked there for around about 2 years. And during that whole entire 2 years, I was still trading as well. Not the whole entire time, but for most of it, I was, trying to juggle trading. And then, yeah, after that 2 years, I just basically quit once I saw consistent payouts and be able to pass accounts easily and whatnot. Then that's kind of when I was like, okay, I've got enough money saved up now. Let me just try go full time with this. And, little did I know that'd be the best decision I'd ever make in my life. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. For anyone else that is in college or university, same thing, you just got to do it, get it out of the way, the college and university work, and then focus on trading. But that's why it's so important having that specific trading window as well, because again, it's only 90 minutes per day that I'm on the chart. So I could easily do anything else. I could work a job right now if I wanted to. I could go to college, university. Wouldn't really affect anything. Maybe it'd be a little bit weird with the time window. For me, it'd be 2 p.m. So if I had class or something then it could maybe intervene with it. But again, you can find another 90-minute window. The one that I trade is the highest probability one though, so potentially that may affect my trading. But yeah, I do not think so. So yeah, that is going to wrap it up here, guys. I hope that you did find this video useful. Again, something different. I'm just experimenting with the content and seeing what you guys like the best. So if you did enjoy this style of video, if you want me to do a part 2 or any other videos where I'm just face to face speaking to you guys, do let me know in the comments down below. And also I'd appreciate if you can check out my other social medias, link below in the description, as well as my premium membership group in which you can access my premium Discord, trade live with me, get daily analysis, trade recaps, etc. And also both my indicators are going to be linked below, and an application to apply to my one-to-one mentorship if you would like to learn from me one-to-one. I appreciate all you guys and enjoy the rest of your days and take care.